Give it just a few minutes here to let everyone that is registered get joined in, and then we'll get started. Peter. So I do think all participants are muted, but if you do have a question, you can feel free to put it into the meeting chat. All right. For those of you that are into the meeting already, on the top there should be a section called Q&A. I have turned that on, so if you do have questions, you should be able to post in there. I'll be able to see that and hopefully be able to respond to those throughout the presentation. So this presentation is also being recorded, and we'll be sure to get that out to everyone that has registered. So with that, we will go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for joining this afternoon, especially joining on a Friday before Memorial Weekend. I do appreciate that. I'm Ben Silver, I'm COO here at Corporate Technologies, and we wanted to set this up for all of our customers that are currently on VMware. Wanted to go through some of the things that are happening with Broadcom and VMware, be able to share that information with you guys, and then also give you information on optional alternatives as you work through your technology cycle and what to do with the situation that we're in. So let's start with some of the changes that are happening to VMware this year. The first one is VMware is eliminating the perpetual licenses. So there are no longer a free license or the perpetual, you paid it one time and you get to keep it forever. They are moving to an annual subscription fee, and that'll be the only option for customers going forward. Second, the licensing structure is going to change. It's no longer going to be licensed by a CPU socket. Now it'll be licensed by a core. So to put that into clarity, if you had a server with 4 CPUs and each CPU had 4 cores, instead of paying a license for 4 CPUs, you would now have to pay for 16 cores. Also, VMware is going to bundle their products into fewer bundles. So they are consolidating, I believe it is 7 tiers today, down into just 2 tiers. Then they're also adding minimum purchase requirements. So there is a floor to the minimum amount that you have to have or pay for, whether you're utilizing it or not. So to go into a little bit more detail on that, the 2 bundles that you'll see from VMware this year, they're called VVF and VCF, just depending on the licensing that is needed and the infrastructure that it's being used on. They're now going to require a 72 core minimum, and that is an average of $150 to $200 per core annually. So for a budgeting standpoint, minimum cost is going to be about $12,000 to $15,000 a year for using VMware. But for a lot of our customers, it's quickly exceeding $20,000 to $25,000 annually. Many customers across the country, not just within our organization, are seeing increases of anywhere from 2 to 5 times what they had spent last year, which also had a price increase that happened. So when we talk about options, most customers, especially that do not even meet those minimum requirements, are looking for solutions to move away from VMware. Couple of the options for customers is A, can remain with VMware and pay those license fees even if it's at that minimum. Another option is to convert from VMware. We have a lot of customers that are moving to Hyper-V as their scaler to continue managing their virtual machines and virtual servers on their existing hardware infrastructure. The other side of this is we have a lot of customers that are moving to public cloud. So public cloud, think of as AWS or Azure primarily, turning up servers in those spaces and then running their workflows there. And then lastly, we have a solution for our customers to move into a private cloud environment. When we look at our options, when we stay with our on-premise servers, it's fairly straightforward. You kind of either go with VMware or you go with Hyper-V. It gets a little more complicated when we talk about migrating information and workflow and workloads to the cloud, whether that be a public or a private cloud. One of the things we're going to dive into more in this presentation is what that means by moving to the cloud and how to assess what the solution should be. So why are organizations rethinking their on-prem infrastructure and moving to the cloud? First couple of them are those raising hardware costs and licensing costs. Not only do we have things like the VMware licensing going up exponentially, but right now hardware costs are going up tremendously also. The cost for RAM, the cost for storage, the cost for processing units is all going up. Every month it goes up even more. Another problem that going to the cloud solves, or why to move off of on-prem infrastructure, there is that limited scalability and resiliency, right? You are buying to plan for capacity in the next 5 years, not necessarily just paying for what you need today and then investing when you need those upgrades. There's also, for a lot of our companies, there's those growing compliance and security demands. There's the need for HIPAA compliance, PCI compliance, SOC 2 compliance, CMMC compliance. And then there's that increased operational burden on IT teams. As your managed service provider, we're managing those servers for you. We're handling those. We're taking care of those while they're on site. But there are also more efficient ways to do it. When we talk about moving to the cloud, as I said earlier, there's pretty much two options. There's private cloud and public cloud. So starting on the right side with public cloud, again, this is your Azure, your AWS, your Google Cloud. You are in a shared environment with thousands of and millions of other customers. Typically in these environments, you have a base fee for your equipment, but then there's a variable monthly cost for that egress and usage fees. So the amount of data that you're transferring from that server to your desktop or from that server into other workloads, there's a variable cost there. The other part with the public cloud is you do have a limited architectural control. And so what I mean by that is if you needed to set up a different type of backup solution, or if you needed to quickly add additional resources to a workload, it can be a little bit harder and it's limited in what you can do in that public cloud. Conversely to that, in our private cloud solution, you get dedicated resources for your environment. So if you're built out with 16 cores, 2 gig of RAM, and 2 terabytes of hard drive, that is allocated directly for you. It is not shared across with multiple organizations. We also, because it's within our own cloud, are able to provide predictable costs. So it is a flat monthly rate based on the resources that you have allocated to you. It does not have anything to do with usage, anything with data transfers, or anything like that. That also helps to promote better performance consistency, because when those resources are dedicated to you and allocated for your workflows, it's reliable and you can understand and it's predictable how it's going to perform day over day. In our private cloud environment, again, as we talk about this, we're built for control and performance. We've got dedicated infrastructure with that agility of being in the cloud. So you do get the flexibility to turn things up, turn things down as needed. That meets the needs of your business, even in a seasonal environment. You have improved uptime and disaster recovery. We have a data center in Ohio and we have another one in Florida that also has replication between our data centers. So should one data center have an issue, or let's just say we have a natural disaster in Florida, we're able to replicate and have everything back up and running in a geographically diverse environment to make sure that you maintain that uptime and that and do not lose your production. Our data centers are designed to be secure, be around security and compliance. So we are ISO certified. We do have SOC 2, HIPAA, PCI, and NIST. Our data centers are using enterprise level solutions. So want to be clear on this as we talk about when we have customers that are on VMware today and want to look at moving into alternate options. Again, for our customers, we're absolutely looking at Azure for a lot of customers, but for more of our customers, we're looking at the option of moving into our private cloud for this information, for this storage solution. We use enterprise level applications. So we're using Cisco, Proofpoint, Huntress. We're using true Microsoft licensing solutions. We're using Veeam as our backup, and we use Sophos for most of our networking infrastructure, along with your regular ConnectWise RMM tools that you're used to having today. Something a little new on here that most people probably have not heard of is Verge.io. Verge.io is the hyperscaler platform that we're using. It's an alternative to VMware or to Citrix or to some of the other hyperscalers that are out there. We're using Verge as our hyperscaler platform because it provides better management and it's a unified solution for compute, storage, and networking. We're able to distribute workloads across our infrastructure to ensure that we are operationally efficient, but also operationally redundant for our customers and provide better uptime and reliability. It provides a lower total cost of ownership for our customers and for us based on how the licensing is built and how we can deploy and upgrade as needed. And Verge really is purpose-built to be a private cloud for MSP customers. So we just went through quite a bit on the technical aspects of our cloud environment. And before I hit to the next slide, I'm going to just step back a little bit. One of the things that we want to do at Corporate Technologies for our customers and with our customers is help to create the strategy to ensure we're providing the right solution for you as an individual. VMware at this point is making it clear that they don't want to be necessarily in providing solutions to customers that have on-prem servers. What we want to do is provide options to our customers to move into alternate solutions that are more cost-effective, that are more reliable, and that are more scalable. When we talk about the investment in moving to the cloud, I put this up here as a reference. This is actually real world example that we had. And I want to start with the option on the right. So for our customers that are evaluating moving to the cloud, and let's just say they've got a server that's let's go with 3 to 4 years old. Within that next couple of years, they're going to have to do a hardware refresh. And right now at current prices for a server that's got a controller and 2 virtual machines, we're looking at around $20,500. You've got another $25,000 in licensing costs for not only your VM and for your VM hyperscaler, but also your Windows OS, some of your other licensing that needs to be on there for it to operate. You've got the cost for your security tools to be on there, whether that's Huntress, whether that's Proofpoint or any CrowdStrike or any other server-based security protocols that need to be there. You're also with your on-prem, you're going to have a backup and disaster recovery solution, which is for a lot of customers for something this size, around $175 a month. And then you've got the management fee. And then every 5 years, when you refresh that hardware, you've got a project fee to do that server migration from existing hardware to a new hardware. When we look at it in this context and the total cost of ownership over 5 years, you're just over $154,000. Now, if we take that exact same example and the same compute resources that are needed to provide that service, in our cloud environment, we go to a simple pricing model where you just pay for the cores you need, the RAM you need, and the hard drive space you need. We include with our service the Windows OS licensing, the backup and disaster recovery, the VPN, the management of the solution is all included into that cost. So when we look at it this way, and again, it's clear and transparent pricing, those 16 cores, about $400 a month. The RAM is going to cost you about $415 a month, and that hard drive space is about $200 a month. All in, including that one-time project fee to move you from your on-prem server into our cloud environment, you're looking at a total cost of ownership of $64,316 over 5 years. But more importantly, you're only paying $1,088 a month after that. So when year 6 hits, year 7, year 8, year 9, you're not having to do another hardware refresh with another project. You're continuing to maintain on that environment as we make sure the infrastructure is up to date, make sure the server OSs are up to date, and everything stays up and running for you. Some of the ROI highlights that our customers typically experience when they make this switch, again, that 30 to 40% reduction in infrastructure costs. It's not only the cost of the equipment on site, it's also the cost for the UPS battery backup. It's the cost for the electricity that it's consuming, the space that it's occupying. All of that is eliminated when you move into a cloud infrastructure. You're also eliminating the software licensing that's needed. So instead of worrying about another price hike for VMware next year, or if Hyper-V decides to start charging on a license fee, all of that is eliminated so that it's very stable and reliable when it comes to budgeting and understanding what your costs will be. Again, we talked about the reduced operational overhead. Not having that equipment on-prem reduces a lot of other expenses within an organization. And then that improved infrastructure utilization, where you're really only paying for what you need, not capacity planning for years in advance. So the next thing to go through is, as we talk about the benefits of cloud, I'd like to go through and be a little bit clearer on how do you get there from a physical standpoint. So when we look at this slide here, if we start on the left, we've got your office. You've got your switching equipment, your computers are connected to the switches, everything works that way, you get out on the internet. What we will do is we'll come in and install a Sophos remote Ethernet device or a RED device into your environment. And what that RED device is, it creates a dedicated Ethernet tunnel back to our data center. It's a fully encrypted, fully secure tunnel over the public internet that gets back to our data center, where we then take it. We create a dedicated segmented network layer for you, and then we connect you into our virtual environment. From a user experience standpoint, your users do not know the difference. They would not know if that server is on-prem or if it's in a remote area. And then what we're also able to do is we manage that from end to end for you. So we are managing that switch for you at on-prem, we're managing that remote Ethernet device, and then we're obviously managing our cloud environment in our data center. When it comes to working with customers that are interested in making the switch and looking at if it's the right solution for them, we have a detailed process that we follow. The first thing we're going to do with you is we're going to assess your environment. We're going to look at how old your hardware infrastructure is, the licensing that's on that, the licensing and software that is on that infrastructure, and determine first and foremost, is moving to the cloud the right solution for you, or is an alternate option a better solution? We'll inventory all of your workloads and we'll evaluate your internet connectivity. We'll want to make sure that that internet connection is robust enough to be able to handle data transfer to a remote server. Typically, if you are on a broadband connection with a 10 meg upload, where we would recommend an updated internet connection in order to make sure that this is running optimally. But what we will do is a full assessment from top to bottom to ensure that if you make this switch, it will be a good experience. Second, we will then design your cloud solution. We will help determine how much memory you need, how much processing you need, and how much hard drive space you need in order to have everything work optimally. We'll also establish disaster recovery and security controls. So we'll understand if they're in the event of an outage, how do we handle that? If it's an on-prem outage or if it's impairment of an internet connection or something within our data centers, we'll detail what happens in those situations to ensure that you stay running. After that, we then work and we begin the migration phase. We do not stop your current productions while we're migrating data and setting you up into our cloud environment. That all happens in the background so that your users of the server don't notice a difference. Once we've completed the migration, then we'll do a switchover in an after hours, typically in an after hours solution, so that again, when users come in the next day, they just continue to operate as they always have and they don't realize that there was a change. Then after that, what we'll do is we will review, we'll monitor the usage, we'll monitor for resource utilization, and make sure that we are optimizing everything within our data center for your individual performance. We'll then go through this process. We'll go through and we will decommission your existing server and your existing hardware. And then we'll just ensure that we have ongoing scaling and governance of your data to ensure that it's protected, that it's meeting compliance requirements, and any other thing that is needed there. So overall, what does this mean by making that move from your current VMware solution to our private cloud solution? First off, lower and predictable IT costs. It's an improved resiliency and performance, as we discussed. It really does simplify operations because you're within our controlled data centers, where we're controlling that infrastructure, uptime, maintenance, and everything. And then you're also becoming more future ready because as things evolve, as things change for software, we're able to handle and have those updated for you without you having to worry about a change in cost. So with that, thank you everyone for joining this meeting. I know it was just a 30-minute and we are on a Friday afternoon here. But again, like I said, at Corporate Technologies, we want to make sure that we're working with you as your MSP and as your partner to help educate and guide you through the current situation with the VMware and Broadcom and ensure that we're giving you the options on what to do in this situation. So just taking a look at the notes. So Jennifer had asked, what is a core? So a core is a thread within a processing unit. So if you think of on your computer, you might have a CPU that does your normal processing. It's a Pentium processor probably. But within that, they would have multiple cores to be able to handle processing data in multiple streams at one time. Jeff Christensen has said, with such a dramatic price difference, why would anyone anywhere stay with VMware? Are they a bargain for large companies only? The short answer is yes. VMware has made it pretty clear that they do not want to service retail customers or the retail end users. They would prefer to only work with the likes of Meta, Apple, Google, those types of companies. So Jason had asked, so we did a server project late last year, project last year. where we did a hardware refresh and wondering why we didn't recommend cloud then. The short answer that I can give to that is we didn't have this solution in 2024. Having this cloud solution is something that's new to corporate technologies within about the last 6 or 8 months. And it was a strategic move that we made as a company to be able to bring this in. And now we're able to offer this to our customers. Had we had it available in 2024, I promise it would have been something that would have been proposed. So Kieran asked, and this is another great question. Um, have a ERP is cloud-based, use files are on SharePoint, only using the server as a domain controller. Do I need VMware? The answer is no. For a lot of these types of customers, we'll actually recommend going more to a cloud-based Active Directory. You wouldn't necessarily even need to use our private cloud. Work with your account manager on this, or I'll have your account manager reach out and we can explain options to still facilitate this without even the need for a cloud-based server. Jeff, great question. How long does the process take to complete? It's a little dependent on the amount of data that we need to move and the internet bandwidth. So typical implementations take 30 to 45 days. A big chunk of that time is once we have our equipment in place and things provisioned, it's just waiting for the data to transfer from the current servers into our cloud servers. Once that's done, then we're usually at about 48 hours after that, we'll complete the switchover and have people up and running. Another great question. Is there a case where it doesn't make sense to move to the cloud, i.e. a non-complex business? Yes. There are plenty of advancements within Office 365, within SharePoint, within Teams, and within Azure and Cloud Active Directory solutions that there are definitely customers at this point that it may make more sense just to move to that environment instead of a private cloud environment. For every customer, it will vary a little bit based on complexity, based on compliance, and based on what's being done on those local servers today. But absolutely, there for a lot of customers, that is also a good solution. Any other questions? All right, well, it's 2:28 Central here. If anybody does have any other questions, please reach out to your account manager. We will definitely be available to help and address your individual situations. But the one thing again that we want to do is make sure that we are getting ahead of this with your VMware licensing and making sure that we have a plan for you before your licenses expire. All right. Then with that, I hope everyone has a great Memorial weekend and we'll talk to you soon.